Breaking Bad, considered one of the greatest TV shows of all time, came to an end in 2013, and sometime in that year it was announced that there would be a prequel spin-off based on the character of Saul Goodman. And news of this announcement was met by a lukewarm reception at best. And 9 years later, we've got two TV shows that are considered to be absolutely fantastic, almost like a two-course meal, with El Camino being the side dish that's not integral but is nice to have, and Slippin' Jimmy being the little bit of a salad on the side that you didn't ask for and you don't really want anyways. I compare it to Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. Like, I originally saw Blade Runner and I was blown away. I absolutely love that film. And it still is one of my favourite films of all time. The world, the atmosphere, there's just the general vibe of it I just really liked. And I was happy when a sequel was announced, but I was cautiously optimistic. And when I saw Blade Runner 2049, I was blown away. And obviously you're going to compare the two, and I'm thinking, actually no, 2049 had better pacing, have stronger characters, and after a while you're thinking, hold on, the sequel is better in X, Y, and Z ways, and if I really like the original, then should that not mean that I like this one more? And I had this sort of like crisis of conscience that I didn't want to betray this film, like one of the films that got me interested in film to begin with, but at the same time the sequel was very good. And that's the sort of thing I have with Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. If I say Better Call Saul is better in some ways than Breaking Bad, then I do have that crisis of conscience. Not because I don't think it to be true, but because it's almost an established fact that Breaking Bad is one of the best shows of all time. So how can you say that Better Call Saul is better? I want to take my initial feelings aside and just sort of like think about how I really feel about it. And having some time since the finale, I think I've developed my thoughts a bit more. Better Call Saul had better supporting characters, its cinematography was more polished, and it left you loose ends, narratively speaking. Now that isn't sacrilege towards Breaking Bad, because it was also very good in those things. I just feel that Better Call Saul was better. On the flip side, I think Breaking Bad was better when it came to the larger stakes, the bigger set pieces, and the cathartic moments. Something I feel Breaking Bad sort of stumbled on was its pacing. Especially in the first season and a half, there seemed to be an episode of like really intense, action-packed things happening, followed by like 2 episodes of reflecting on the things that happened previous. And the pace for me just seemed to be a bit all over the place, that there was a fast episode of things happening, explosions, making mess, slow birthday party, slow talking pillow. Ironically enough, with the introduction of Saul Goodman, that seemed to sort itself out, that instead of stopping the narrative to reflect on it, the reflection was happening as the narrative was going on. And by the final season, the pacing was absolutely fantastic. I think my favourite episode of the whole series of Breaking Bad was Death Rate. The pacing of that was really good, the stakes were great, and the cathartic moment at the end was absolutely shocking. It changed the series forever. Yeah, bitch! Walter White and Jimmy McGill have compelling arcs. They're very similar, how they're stories of someone being corrupted by their circumstance. Although Walter White seems to be going from a 1 to a 10, whereas McGill is going from a 2 to an 8. And Walt was clearly not the same person at the end of the series as he was in the beginning. That throughout those 2 years, many different things happened in order to change him.
But I prefer to see it as the study of change.
You contrast this with Jimmy / Saul / Gene. I feel the theme was that he never really changed.
So you were always like this?
He'll never change. He'll never change. Ever since he was 9. Always the same.
Be him Jimmy, be him Saul, he never really changed. He was like a corrupt soul to begin with. Yet there were still some glimmers of a good person in there. Okay, but which one do I think is better? Personally, I think Breaking Bad is better, but not by much. Not by much. I can admit that Better Call Saul is better in some aspects than Breaking Bad. Fine. I think we all can. But I feel Breaking Bad had bigger stakes, and it had more of a catharsis to it. Whereas Better Call Saul definitely had that, but it was less impactful. Like you could definitely have Breaking Bad without Better Call Saul. I mean, it came out first, of course you can. But you can't have Better Call Saul without Breaking Bad. The last few episodes of Better Call Saul had McGill just sort of like talk about his time with Walter White.
My every waking moment was spent building Walter White's drug empire. Walter White couldn't have done it without me.
If you would just see Better Call Saul without seeing Breaking Bad, you'd be like, who's this Walter White guy? Okay, yeah, it's not saying who is Walter White, it's like someone saying like, who is Darth Vader? Like, we all know who Walter White is.
Your eyes,
Narratively speaking, he just shows up for a couple of scenes, and he has this great effect on the finale that Better Call Saul can't exist without Breaking Bad, and it can't stand up on its own for the finale and for the catharsis to work, but Breaking Bad can stand up on its own. That is why I think it sort of squeaks being the better one. But hey, it's not a competition, and I'm just glad to live in a world where both these two series exist. I can't wait to see what Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould go on to do next. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.